I'm going to give you guys like the secret, like the real, like the key ingredient to making this work. And it's not like some words. It's not. Because the thing is that humans are exceptionally good at smelling out when someone's lying. We have thousands of years of evolution to see if someone's going to trick you and then, steal your food or whatever it is. Like, we're actually really good and intuitively, like, you don't know if someone's lying, but you're like, I just feel off about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's one thing that I know, well, there's two things that can fix it. One is years and years of training of trying to fix your tonality, pausing at the right time, speaking fast if I really want to get someone really excited, or slowing down so that you really pay attention to what I'm saying right now, right? Like, you can shift how you're feeling. Like, pros can do that because they've trained for it.
Yep.
But if you're a beginner, there's one thing that's even more powerful than that, which is just you just believe in it. And so here's my example for you. Have you ever bought something that you were like, this is amazing? Right? And when you go to your aunt, you're like, you got to try these shoes on. They're so, or like, I got this new thing that covers. Yeah. And the thing is the way you talk about it, that's what gives you conviction. And I'll ask a question that might, trigger some people, but if you've ever met somebody who found a new religion, right? And they're like on fire about the religion. Yeah. If they say it enough, sometimes the person who believes more, you're like, maybe I'm wrong about this, depending on how convicted they are. Yeah. And so the thing that will fix your tone, will fix the things that you will say, is actually believing in the product. And so we see this with sales teams, and I can tell you I can fix a sales team rather than training them on drilling obstacle overcomes and things like that by simply saying, what's happened in the last 7 days, 14 days, 30 days that made you believe in this less? And solving for that. And sometimes there's a legitimate problem with a product or a service, and it's like, we're on it. And then we start giving them updates every day of the things that we're doing to solve the problem that they brought up. Right?
Good.
And so it's like, we're just fixing the act, like we're getting to the heart of it. So you can
fall in love with what you're selling.
Right. Because if you don't believe in it, you know what? You shouldn't sell it. That's the real. Like, if you don't believe in it, you shouldn't sell it. And the problem is so many people sell things they don't believe in to make a paycheck. And that's why
where sales get a bad name.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when people, it's funny. I love listening. I love being a student, and I love hearing this. When people say to me, how did you guys do the biggest launch? How are you so good at sales? What I always say is, because I love what I do so much that I feel bad if they don't get it.
Yeah.
And people are always looking. People are saying, give me the secret to sell. Yeah, right. Like just what you said. Is it the slow down? Is it the speed up?
Yeah.
I've never studied any of that.
Right.
I've just fallen in love. Again, back to Og Mandino's book, The World's Greatest Salesman. His second, the most important one is, I will meet this day with love. Yeah. And he said, they might not like my clothes. They might not even like my product. They might not like my voice, my complexion. But if I'm in my head saying, I love you, I know it sounds a little hokey, but if they're saying, I love you, there's no way they could say no to me. Because if you meet this day with love, if you don't just love your product, don't just love the success of your company, you actually love the person you're serving, you wouldn't sell them something that sucks, but you also wouldn't do them the disservice of them not having it, right? If you fall in love with a movie, you want everybody you love to go see it. You fall in love with going vegan, you are praising from the roof, my arthritis went away, I feel better, go vegan, right? When you love a product or a service or the company you're launching or the coaching program you're not selling, you're feeling bad by not persuading someone to take that action. And when I see that passion in someone or a company, I know where they're going.
The number one salesman for like the last 5 years at my old company, you could listen to his sales calls and he was unbelievably persistent, but it wasn't in a pushy or coercive way. I would watch these sales calls and someone would be on like their sixth no. And he would take his glasses off and he'd rub his face and he's like, Pete, I'm not giving up on you, man. He's like, you said that you're struggling to pay your mortgage right now. And like, I know because I have all of this proof behind me that like there's something that's stopping you emotionally from doing this. Like let's work on this together. Let's figure this out.
Decision.
Right? Exactly. And so the thing is I love saying this is that it's not, sales is a dance, not a fight. Right? You're just working with the person. And the thing is, and if you're ever selling a physical environment, you always want to be on the same side of the table because it really signals what the relationship should be, which is we're on the same side of the table here. I'm trying to help you make a good decision. And you know what? And this is the thing about having integrity as a salesperson is that if you find out while you're talking to them that it's not a good fit, then you will sell so much better if you let a couple people go that you know it's not going to be a good fit for, because then you know why you're doing it. because then you have more conviction in yourself that it's not that I just sell every person with a heartbeat. I sell the people that I think really need this thing. And some people might not need this thing because they have a different demon they got to slay. And you know what? Then make them a recommendation because you do care about them rather than the sale.
Yeah.
So conviction over commission. Like that's the...
And that's at the end of the day, it boils back to that love thing, that service thing, that caring thing. And it is the unfair advantage to sales. Like I love hearing your perspective. You're so good at sales, Alex. I've watched you train it. I've watched you train it. I watch you talk about it, but it always starts with that caring. Yeah. And I've never met anybody consistent. Listen, I can see someone who's got a business doing $1 million a year. And when I watch them, and I'm not saying $1 million a year is bad, please. I'm not. $1 million a year is amazing. But they want to go to 10. Yeah. And I could tell the way they sell. Yeah. I could tell what they've rehearsed. Yeah. They don't believe in what they're doing. And in my head, I know you will never pass that. There's no way beyond where you are unless you change how you feel. If you sell someone and then think, gotcha. Yeah, you're not going to make it. Yeah, you're not going to make it. Because what happens is, one, you'll foster a whole army of people who hate you. But secondly, if you have any ethics at all, which most people do, I actually think a lot more people have ethics than other people give credit for, it starts to eat at you. And Dean and I have been doing this business game enough to see, we've seen people bottle rocket their way up and then fizzle. Yeah. Bottle rocket up and then fizzle. They create another new product every 12 weeks because... and if it's crypto, they got a crypto program. Yeah. If it's AI, there's a new AI program. Right. Rather than going deep, falling in love and actually making transformation. So if you're in business, starting a business, thinking about business, even in your career, what if tomorrow, if we challenge you to say, how can I fall in love with this business? How can I fall in love with my product? And if you don't love it, here's what I'll tell you, just go fix it. Go fix it. I love this. So I'm gonna go real deep on this real quick. So it's usually I look at a lot of businesses every day. It's usually the biggest, most obvious thing is that the sandwich shop isn't doing well. They're like, it's our marketing. It's the location. I was like, your sandwiches just aren't that good. That's all it is. They're just not good enough. That's all. They're like, we just need more customers. I was like, if you serve the customers you had well enough, you wouldn't have this conversation with me. You'd already have a line out the door every day at lunch. When you have we're using a sandwich as an example. Right. When you have a killer sandwich. Yeah. What do? You post it. Nobody even wants to see a post about food. Please, why? Right? But you do, compared to good. And you and I both know some companies. We talked about one earlier that's a really good marketer. Yeah. But the company's kind of like a colander that you put spaghetti in. Yeah. They market so good, but they keep falling through the holes because their product's not amazing. Yeah. And this is at least my hack for getting conviction. Okay. Is so my next book's coming out. I spent 2,000 hours writing it. Wow. And my editor spent 1,500 hours. So it's 3,500 hours of time went into this thing. And I'm not saying that for the book, but I'm saying my understanding of the level of effort that is required to make something that is world-class or excellent has continued to move up my bar and my expectation of self. And so the guy who has the sandwich shop, sometimes I sit down at places, I'm like, how did someone think this is my life's work? And they made this sandwich. I'm like, if I were going to open a sandwich shop, I'd spend a year trying every sandwich I possibly could and thinking how can I would go to the best, I would drive to the best sandwich shops and think okay, how do they set up their menu? What are the few items that they have? How do they source their ingredients? It's doing the actual work, because the thing is that when you do that work, and I'm about to invest in a company that does no strips, so it's kind of exciting because you've had no strips on my forever. Whole life. Yeah, I know. And I was like, and I was telling this guy, the creator, and I was like, this is what we need to look at in terms of how long the residue stays on your nose. He's like, and I was like, how much coverage it has, how long it sticks. I was like, I think the plastic needs to be firmer. And I'm naming all these things. He's like, no one has ever broken down our product with all this detail. And the thing is that once you fix every single one of those things, you make sure it's toasted for exactly 17 seconds, and you make sure it gets flipped at this way in this time. Why? Because you did it at 30, you did it at 5, and you found out that 17 was perfect. When you go to talk about the sandwich, you'll have the conviction.